Hey y'all, it's Melissa from Cajun Sugar Pie, and today we're going to be making some muffin recipes that are perfect for breakfast. The first one we're going to make is not very sweet, but it has coconut, it has apples, it has all kinds of yummy goodness. And we're also going to be making some blueberry muffins and some cranberry muffins. So y'all join me and let's get started. We're going to get started with the breakfast muffins, and that's just what I call them. It's going to be flour, some whole wheat flour, and I like to use the white wheat, some half and half, some dried cranberries, salt, baking soda, baking powder, cinnamon, and I like to use Ceylon for this one, brown sugar, coconut, and this is unsweetened coconut flakes, some chopped pecans, a stick of butter, 2 eggs, and they need to be room temperature, and 2 apples. And I will link this recipe below. So to get started, we're going to take our stand mixer and we're going to mix up the melted butter, the brown sugar, and we're just going to cream that really well. Some half and half, but you could also use milk if you wanted to. 2 eggs. And y'all, the egg prices, they're just insane right now. Give me a thumbs up if you agree. Now we're going to add some apples. And they need to be chopped pretty good. And some unsweetened coconut flakes, pecans chopped, some dried cranberries, and we'll mix all that together. And then we're going to add the dry ingredients, which is the whole wheat flour, which is, I use the white wheat, the regular all-purpose flour, cinnamon, baking powder, baking soda, some salt, and then we're going to just let this combine really well. And I'm using my USA pan and my big cookie scoop here. If you use another type of pan, you may want to place some muffin liners in there before you start adding the batter. I don't have to do that with the USA pan. It pops right out, and I will link that below if you want to look into those because they're really awesome. Now I'm just going to add a few more pecans and cranberries to the top of this. And we're going to get them in the oven, 350 for about 20 to 23 minutes. And this is what they look like when they are done. And because they do have the whole wheat flour in them, they're not that sweet. And they're a really, really good early morning breakfast muffin, in my opinion. Next up, we're going to be making the blueberry muffins. And that's just going to be some sugar and egg, some baking powder and salt. And I have both of those in here. Some oil, some vegetable oil, some milk. And then you need about 8 ounces, but I went ahead and used 10 of these organic blueberries. So first we're going to add the flour and the sugar, and then the baking powder and salt. And we're just going to mix that up together, get the dry ingredients mixed really well, and then we'll add the vegetable oil, the milk, which you can see it spilled all over my counter, and then we have the egg. And we're just going to get that really well combined before we add in the blueberries. So here are our frozen blueberries, and I was just picking through to make sure they all looked good before I stirred them in. And this is what the batter looks like when it's all folded in and combined. And in this one, I am using my USA pan and my big 2 tablespoon scooper. But I did use muffin liners here just because sometimes those blueberries can make a mess in that pan. So I do recommend using the muffin liners on this blueberry muffin recipe. But usually when you're using the USA pan, because it has that silicone coating, you don't have to. Okay, so here I'm just going to take some regular granulated sugar and sprinkle that on the top just because I want them to have that crusty top, and you do that with granulated sugar. So this is what they look like before they go into the oven, and they will go in a 400-degree oven for about 28 minutes, and you just want to make sure they spring back, and they were yummy, yummy, yummy. Okay, next up is the Cranberry Crumb muffins, and we tried this year because I did have a lot of cranberries left over, and that's one of the things I'm trying to do is use up the cranberries. So you'll see me mixing the butter and sugar here, just creaming that together, and then adding the egg, the 2 eggs, and like I say, I had tons of cranberries, so I was trying to use them up. So these are actual fresh cranberries and not dried cranberries, and this recipe was really, really good, but I absolutely love cranberries. So if you don't like the tart flavor of cranberry, you may not like this as much as the breakfast muffin that used the dried cranberries. Now here also is the salt and baking powder, baking soda, and so I just mixed up the dry ingredients. Now I'm going to add the cranberries to this just because they were frozen and kind of wet, and I wanted to make sure they got coated well and didn't sink to the bottom. And then you also add the pecans, and then we're going to add the liquid ingredients in. So we're going to add the dry ingredients into the creamed butter and sugar, then we'll add the liquid ingredients in a minute. So this is just me adding a little bit at a time, the cranberry flour mixture into that creamed butter and sugar. So here's the sour cream. And I also had some almond milk that I wanted to use up, but you could certainly use regular milk if you wanted to. And you're just going to fold the sour cream and the milk or almond milk into that the rest of the batter. And so this is what it looks like. Now we're going to make the crumb topping for these muffins, and that's just the flour and the brown sugar with some melted butter, and then we're going to add some cinnamon and some salt. And then we're just going to kind of mix that together, and it's going to be clumpy, but that's what you want. You want to have the good clumps of all that yummy sugar and butter mixture there. Again, I'm using my scooper, and again, I am not putting liners in this pan. Now, I do use the USA pan, so if you were using something else, this recipe, because it does have the cranberries in it, you might want to use a muffin liner for this too. So I'm just going to top these with the crumb mixture and just kind of press it in a little bit so it stays on the batter and not on the sides of the pan. And then we are going to bake this in a 375-degree oven for about 26 to 30 minutes. And this is what they look like when they're done. Thank you all so much for joining me today with these muffin recipes. If you like this video, please hit that like button, subscribe to see more, and I will see you next time.